I'm Sharon Reed. We just got the voice tape from today's plane crash, the conversation between pilots and air traffic controllers seconds before the plane went down.
It was carrying passengers from the Atlantic City casinos. I'm John Alston. The very latest next at 11.
I'm Sharon Reed.
And I'm John Alston. These are the last words we have of the pilots to the control tower in today's fatal crash.
Tell them we lost both engines. We lost both engines for 6 seconds, Julian.
The plane was carrying passengers from the casinos in Atlantic City. We have new video and new developments to tell you about with live team coverage from the crash site to Atlantic City.
The local boy who brought a box cutter to class found out tonight if he gets to go back to school. Also tonight, we may be headed right into the worst Lyme disease season on record. Lyme disease can be devastating if you don't catch it early. We have a special report that can help protect you and your family.
And I'm meteorologist Kathy Orr. If you're wondering when we are going to get out of this cool and wet weather rut, I'll tell you with the exclusive Earth Watch 5-day forecast. News 10 is just 30 seconds away.
This is News 10 at 11.
Tell them we lost both engines. We lost both engines.
Something goes wrong aboard a charter flight from Atlantic City.
The plane goes down near the Poconos, killing all on board. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sharon Reed.
And I'm John Alston. Our top story on News 10 at 11 is the casino trip that ended in disaster. 19 people dead after their charter plane crashed. And as you're about to hear, the pilots struggled with one emergency after another, including an aborted landing and engines that went silent.
Juliet, stand by.
Juliet, minimum deck ring altitude there is 3,300.
Stand by for 60, Juliet. Tell them we lost both engines. We lost both engines for 6 seconds, Juliet. 0. We're trying 6 seconds.
The twin-engine propeller plane never made it to the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Airport, hitting the ground in Bear Creek Township, about 9 miles short of the runway. News 10 Cindy Hamill has been following the story all day. She's live now at the command center in Bear Creek Township. Cindy?
Well, John, the NTSB is finished up here for this evening. They'll be back at it again early in the morning. Now, they have not shared with us what they have learned from being on the scene this evening because they first want to brief the families, and that won't happen until tomorrow morning. What we have learned so far is this, that it was a chartered flight from and then back to Atlantic City, for a gambling excursion. Now, the pilots tried to land once. They had some trouble. They tried again to land a second time, and that's when the pilots reported losing power to both engines. The plane then crashed seconds later into a ball of fire.
The first crews on the scene had to hike in or catch a four-wheel drive deep into the woods. They came with ambulances and stretchers, but they wouldn't need them. All 19 people on board are dead.
I just can't comprehend what took place. It was devastating, really.
Joe Klee knew several people on board the charter jet to Atlantic City. It went down about 11:40 on its second approach to the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Airport in misty, partly cloudy skies. The pilot reported losing power to both engines.
There are some indications on the air traffic control tapes of engine problems during the first approach, which carried through during the second approach.
It's very tough. It's very tough.
Politicians and others who came to the airport to comfort the victims' families found out they too knew people on the flight.
Every family in northeastern Pennsylvania will have somebody in their family who knew somebody in one of the victims' family.
The Red Cross escorted family members through the horrible reality. Just across the tarmac, officials prepare a makeshift morgue. 19 people, mothers, brothers, whole families were on that plane.
There were 3 members of one family who was on board and several couples, and then groups of friends that were on board. There's one young man that lost his mother and had just lost his father not too long ago.
The courage of these family members to come here and for their day to end this way, we can only guess what that must be like.
Now, officials have not yet released all of the victims' names. The flight was supposed to come back from Atlantic City last night, but they had some bad weather, so they rescheduled it to come back this morning. Now, NTSB says that they have recovered the cockpit voice recorder. They say that there was no flight data recorder on this particular plane, and it was not supposed to have one. They are saying that they do think that the cockpit voice recorder will help them in their investigation. Reporting live from Bear Creek Township, Cindy Hamill, News 10.
Cindy, do we know if the victims were all members of one organized group, or were these people who bought onto the charter from all over the place?
Yeah, no, this was not one particular group together, although there were just a few larger groups and then a couple of couples. Some of them were family members, some of them were just friends going down to Atlantic City for the weekend for a little gambling trip.
All right, thank you, Cindy. And now the plane left Atlantic City International Airport, taking gamblers home from a weekend trip. News 10's Mike Strug is live in Atlantic City with reaction there. Mike.
Well, Sharon, 24 hours ago, the passengers who died aboard that flight, all presumably from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area, were enjoying themselves here in Atlantic City at Caesars. It was supposed to be a weekend of fun. It turned into a tragedy. Like almost half of the million passengers a year who fly in and out of Atlantic City International Airport, the 17 who died were on a gambling junket. Ironically, they were due to leave at about 1:30 in the morning, but their flight was canceled.
They were supposed to pick this group up last night at 1:15. And what happened was they canceled it because due to weather. People were outside, the junket rep came, said the people aren't going.
Their executive airlines charter was grounded by bad weather at its home base at Farmingdale, New York. It wasn't until later in the morning that the twin-engine turboprop arrived in Pomona for the flight to Scranton.
Typically, this airline is flying casino patrons to and from Atlantic City. It serves, obviously, the Scranton area and some other areas in the region.
Were there any problems with the plane before it took off? Any kind of emergency maintenance?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
When the plane lifted off at about 10:30, weather was acceptable both here and in Scranton.
Our thoughts and our prayers are all with the family members of the people who are on the plane. I think that's the primary concern of everybody who works here.
No one from Caesars has made himself or herself available to talk about the tragedy. They're expected to have a statement sometime tomorrow. Live in Atlantic City, I'm Mike Strug, News 10.
All right, Mike, now we have more on the plane crash. It is a twin-engine Jetstream 31 built in 1988. The owner is listed as Millennium Jetstream Holdings of Farmingdale, New York. It has been registered to that company since February, and we do not know at this hour if that plane has had any history of mechanical problems.
Tonight, one aviation expert is telling News 10 there are already some interesting clues emerging from the early hours of the investigation, specifically reports that both engines had failed.
Well, the fact that both engines go out is certainly a clue, and it is indeed rare. It does make you think of the fuel system, because that's the one system that would be powering both engines and would react at both engines at the same time.
What does that tell you about a possible cause of this?
Well, of course, it's very early to speculate, but if it is indeed correct that both engines went out, you would be checking the fuel system. You'd be checking for possible fuel starvation, fuel contamination, problems with the fuel delivery system. That would certainly be one of the systems to be looked at, in addition, of course, to pilot input. Did the pilots do something which affected the fuel system?
Z Handler believes the weather had no impact on the engines, but instead may have added to the stress in the cockpit as the pilots struggled with their engine problems and that aborted landing.
Now, a recap, the latest on the plane that went down. Investigators have confirmed that all 19 people aboard the plane have been killed. The plane went down in the Poconos after the pilots reported both engines failed. The plane had taken off from Atlantic City, taking casino players home from a weekend trip. We will have a live update on the crash later on News 10, and then get the latest overnight developments on News 10 today, beginning at 5 a.m. Now the latest on the collapse of Pier 34 on the Delaware River that killed 3 people. Tonight, 3 of the injured are still in the hospital. Cleanup crews worked at the scene on Columbus Boulevard today. The debris from the broken pier is being removed. Investigators hope to find answers about what went wrong in the cracked and shattered building material. And the pier collapse created a chilling scene Thursday night. Customers and employees at Club Heat were plunged into the river when the pier suddenly gave way. Philadelphia Mayor John Street says he will do what he can to ensure the safety of the city's other piers. John.
It could be a day or two before investigators get to the heart of a burned-out warehouse in Holmesburg. The warehouse went up in a series of fireballs yesterday. I-95 and nearby rail lines had to be closed for several hours. Residents were evacuated in the 10-alarm blaze. The Eastern America warehouse contained clothing, furniture, as well as some flammable liquids. 2 firefighters suffered minor injuries.
5 people are hurt now in what looked like a demolition derby in northeast Philadelphia. Investigators say it appears alcohol was involved. An out-of-control car finally stopped when it slammed into a tree. That kept it from going into the side of a church. Witnesses say the driver sped through a red light at Bustleton and Cockman. The car crashed into another vehicle, injuring the couple inside. Then the driver sped off and hit 3 pedestrians.
He never slowed down. He just seemed like he went even faster. He plowed into them. They had to stop.
The car also took out a fire hydrant. The injured driver was taken into custody. Authorities say he is facing drunk driving charges.
Tonight, more than 50 people are still in the hospital after the collapse of that walkway following a stock car race. That happened last night outside Lowe's Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina, near Charlotte. Right now, engineers are focusing on steel girders in the bridge, which apparently failed just as hundreds of spectators were leaving the racetrack. Officials say the metal showed signs of corrosion, possibly caused by moisture. Close to 100 people were hurt when the walkway collapsed onto the highway below. Screams filled the air as children and adults tumbled to the road 17 feet beneath them. Crews are working to remove the debris before the morning rush hour.
We are following the latest developments on that Poconos plane crash tonight. The charter flight went down after taking off from Atlantic City. We will go live to the scene for new developments in the investigation.
Also new at 11, a young boy who brought a box cutter to school learns the final decision on whether he'll get to return to class.
And a special report tonight on how to keep yourself safe from what can be a devastating disease.
I'm Kathy Egan. Coming up tonight on News 10 at 11, we'll give you tips on how to protect yourself and your children from Lyme disease this season.
You're watching News 10 at 11.
The latest now on the punishment for a Montgomery County boy who took a knife to school. News 10 was first to report that 12-year-old Anthony Hollowell was expelled for 1 year. He took a small utility knife to Springford Middle School last December, and tonight the school board voted the boy's punishment may be reduced to 90 days.
I feel that the board was just trying to be fair with everyone, considering the fact that they've actually heard all of the evidence and other cases involved with the school district.
Holloway will be allowed to finish out the current school year. He can apply to return to classes at Springford 90 days after school starts next fall.
We have the latest now on our top story. The charter plane that took off from Atlantic City and crashed in the Poconos. All-day emergency crews have been on the scene hoping they could find survivors, but we know now that everybody on board, all 19 people, were killed. The plane went down in Bear Creek Township, Luzerne County. The crash site just about a mile from the Pennsylvania Turnpike. We'll go back now to News 10's Cindy Hamill, who has been on the crash scene all day, and she's live at the command center. Cindy?
Well, John, NTSB officials are finished for this evening, but they're going to be back out here early in the morning. Now, one thing about a small community like this is everybody knows each other. And as the news of this tragedy spreads, more and more people are affected. All 17 passengers are from the Northeast Pennsylvania area. People showed up at the airport today to help, and then they realized that they actually knew people on board. Even the airport superintendent lost family members today. Now, one man we spoke with today, he knew several people on the flight, but when he first heard of the crash, his heart just sank because his best friend actually runs this particular charter out of Atlantic City.
I called him. I couldn't talk, but he answered the phone. Usually he's on the plane. So I felt so much relieved that my friend Sal was okay.
Now, of course, not everyone was so fortunate. 19 people died. About 30 family members came to the airport today. They are now awaiting the remains of their loved ones. NTSB officials have a 7:30 meeting for the morning scheduled with family members to brief them on what exactly they learned tonight at the crash scene. Once they brief the family members, then they'll brief us, and of course we will bring that to you just as soon as we can. Reporting live from Bear Creek, Cindy Hamill, News 10.
Cindy, thank you. And now this. We may be facing the worst Lyme disease season on record. It is an illness that can be devastating if you do not catch it early. Tonight, News 10's Kathy Egan explains how to help protect yourself and your family. And she talks to victims of Lyme disease who say they are battling doctors, too.
You wouldn't know it by looking at them, but these children are all battling the same enemy, Lyme disease. It's caused by a deer tick. Look at how tiny it is next to a thumb. The ticks can live right in your backyard. If undiagnosed, Lyme disease can eventually leave some people unable to walk, others unable to see or hear, with memory loss, heart problems, or worse.
This is a war, and it's a war that they're not recognizing.
These people see themselves as soldiers fighting the medical establishment. They believe too many doctors are misdiagnosing Lyme or dismissing the disease altogether. Experts say blood tests commonly used to diagnose Lyme can miss the disease.
Once I'm off the Prev Pack, that's a couple more days worse.
That's what happened to Christina Sagine. She visited doctor after doctor for years, and it finally took a spinal tap to figure out she had Lyme.
Sometimes I do get so weak and so more I can't get up, and if I am by myself or whatever, you know, it's kind of hard to explain, you know, why I'm sitting there on the floor hysterical in pain and crying.
Victims want this Lyme disease law passed by Congress. It calls for a more reliable test to detect Lyme and more funding to study how to treat the disease.
I want a cure. That is my goal, to educate and cure.
But until a cure is found, there are a number of ways you can protect yourself and your children. With the mild winters we've had in recent years, experts say there are more deer ticks, and that poses a bigger threat to you and your children outdoors. Experts suggest these tips. For your children, they say Avon Skin So Soft mosquito, flea, and deer tick repellent is the safest bet. It's a lotion you apply to their skin that also contains sunscreen. Adults can also use it, or they can apply popular bug repellents. You need to know bug repellents often contain a chemical called DEET. Doctors say it may cause problems for some people with sensitive skin, and they warn you not to use DEET on your children. You want to wear light-colored clothing, since you'll spot ticks more easily. If it's possible, wear long pants and sleeves, and tuck your pants into your socks to prevent ticks from getting on your skin. Experts say adults can also spray their clothing, hats, and boots with a chemical called permethrin. It repels deer ticks, but you don't want to apply it to your skin. For your yard, you'll want to keep the grass short and cut down brushy areas. You can also apply products like Daminix. They're cardboard tubes with permethrin inside that you place right in your yard. Finally, for your pets, you can rub on a product called Frontline, since pets can carry ticks right into your home.
A lot of the time, this is where I would go. We have, because they have so many online support groups.
This may sound like a lot to do to protect yourself, but Lyme victims like Christina can't emphasize enough how important it is.
Because if you don't know, your life's going to end up, it could end up just like mine.
Christina's now trapped at home, away from friends, sports, and work, all because of a tiny tick. Kathy Egan, News 10.
To find out more about Lyme disease, log on to our website at NBC10.com, then click on the button for Lyme disease, where we will link you to other helpful sites.
And tomorrow night on News 10 at 11, an investigation you will not want to miss. Have you ever had something wrong with you and your doctor couldn't seem to figure out what it is? Trying to get some answers, more people are turning to the internet for medical advice. But how good is the advice? Can anybody just start their own website and give out medical advice? You'll find out tomorrow on News 10 at 11 in Kathy Egan's investigation, Online Medical Advice. We're officially tired of the rain.
Yes, we are. How about some weather advice? How can we get rid of the damp stuff, Kathy?
Just ask Kathy.
Wish it was that easy.
I wish it was too. I wish I could just snap my fingers and make it go away. We're hoping to get rid of all this rain in time for the holiday weekend. Will we make it? We'll check it out on the Earthwatch 5-day forecast. But first, let's go outdoors live. This is our Aquacam atop the New Jersey State Aquarium, looking at the city of Philadelphia, which is very foggy right now. Our high temperature today, only 58 degrees. The low this morning, 52. Right now, temperatures in the 50s. And as you can see, you can't even see the city skyline. It's really incredible. So poor visibility, especially down the shore. So if you're going to be driving this evening, just take your time. Live Doppler 10,000 showing dry conditions, no rain throughout the region. And that's the way it's going to stay throughout the overnight period. possibility of a little drizzle. Other than that, it's going to be really quiet. Temperature-wise, we're mainly in the 50s throughout the region. Right now in Philadelphia, 57 degrees. It is 50 in the Poconos with an ocean temperature of 54. We have an onshore flow, and that's keeping temperatures cool, and it will for yet one more day, that being tomorrow. But believe it or not, we saw the cloud cover dissipate this evening, and we're seeing some breaks in the clouds, but the fog, those low-level clouds, will obscure your view from the stars tonight, I'm afraid. And where we see the cloudiness, we're also seeing some rain showers down to the south through the Carolinas and Virginia. More rain with another weather disturbance that's going to be moving our way. It's the last of a trio that will be affecting our weather and bringing us rain showers. So tomorrow morning you wake up, there's a chance of a few showers. We'll continue with that northeast wind, and that means cool temperatures. So for the kids at the bus stop, temperatures only in the 50s, so they'll need a coat or a sweater, and obviously no Bermuda shorts for tomorrow. A cool start to today and a cool finish. There's our area of low pressure, bringing a chance of showers mainly in the afternoon. And then we'll watch another disturbance move on by Monday night. Then slowly during the day on Tuesday, we get out of the cool temperatures and we'll be seeing still a chance of a shower, but temperatures will begin to warm up as this last system moves off the coast. Then we'll be seeing more showers on Wednesday with this cold front, but before that we'll have some time to warm up. So we'll get rid of the cool weather, but we won't get rid of the rain until Thursday, in time for the holiday weekend. So for tonight, a chance of some isolated drizzle. Otherwise, areas of fog, lows in the 50s. For tomorrow, a little bit milder than today, but not much. Temperatures still running at least 10 degrees below normal. Periods of rain and still cool. And on the exclusive Earthwatch 5-day forecast, showers Tuesday, afternoon thunderstorms Wednesday. But look at this, warming up. By Thursday, 80 degrees with sunshine. Do you believe it? Friday, much of the same. Ditto. And then for the holiday weekend, temperatures will remain warm. That's the way it looks right now, and probabilities of precipitation at this point are low. So we're going in so far, so good. Bill Henley will have an update tomorrow morning beginning at 5 a.m.
All right, thanks a lot, Kathy. Now the Phillies finally get some offense, but would their power surge bring them a win? Ryan Sikahema has the highlights just ahead.
And it's the last rites for a longtime parish. We'll have the story just ahead.
NBC10 and Pico Energy, educating children in our community. Monday on News 10 at 11. Medical advice on the internet. So easy to get, right at your fingertips. But is it safe?
You don't know that this is a doctor. It could be anyone.
See how easy it is for anyone to pose as an expert. Before you put your health into someone else's hands, be sure to watch our News 10 special investigation. Online medical advice. Monday, after an all-new Third Watch on News 10 at 11.
An American diplomat returns home to deliver the commencement address at Cabrini College. More than 500 graduates received their degrees today in Radnor. U.S. Ambassador to Italy, Tom Foglietta, spoke to the graduating class of 2000. Foglietta represented Philadelphia in Congress before his appointment to Rome in 1997.
And tonight, there was one final mass at a local school that is set to shut down. Inside St. Michael's School in North Philadelphia this morning, parishioners attended the goodbye service. There were no tears, instead more of a celebration for 150 years of service to the community. The Archdiocese is shutting down St. Michael's due to budget reasons. Sports is next.